Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Bracket. I'm John Pierson alongside Erik Dobratz. We also have a very special guest. Yale basketball head coach James Jones will be joining us in just a minute. This is the Sweet 16 version, Erik. We are down to 16.
Hard to believe. Let's get you updated on what's happening here locally in the basketball capital of the world. Since we last talked last week, the 8th seed, the UConn men's basketball team, came to an end with a 77-75 loss to a top seed in Florida on Sunday afternoon in the second round of the NCAA tournament. Great game, back and forth all game long. The Huskies and Gators gave it everything they had to the final horn. Freshman Liam McNeely had 22 points in was it his last game as a Husky? Alex Karaban had 14 points. Was it his last game as a Husky? Hassan Diarra and Samson Johnson saw their careers come to an end with two gutty performances.
And an annual tradition in stores, a send-off for the women to the NCAA Tournament Sweet 16. They played 2 games at home, and now they are heading to Spokane, Washington for their 31st consecutive appearance in the Sweet 16. They're going to take on Oklahoma Saturday afternoon. Lots of students, faculty, and friends outside Gamble to wish the Huskies well. Hopefully, lots of fans make their way west to root on the Huskies. The team was very impressive in 2 wins in stores. They beat Arkansas State and South Dakota State. On Monday night, it was Paige Beckers leading the way, matching her career high with 34 points. Azzi Fudd chipped in with 17. She's been playing really well of late. A 69-point win, then a 34-point win. Not a bad way to get the tournament started. 2 down for the Huskies, 4 to go for a 12th national championship.
The Yale men's basketball team with back-to-back trips to the NCAA tournament. Look at that handsome guy. It becomes a rite of passage for Coach Jones and the Bulldogs getting to that tournament. The players may change, but the results remain the same. Lots of wins. Yale came up a little short against Texas A&M, pushing the Aggies to the limit in the second half. John Poulikitis led the way with 23 points. Nick Townsend added 15. Yale finished the season with 22 wins and says goodbye to an amazing senior class.
You say handsome and well-dressed, too. And joining us right now is the head coach of the Yale Bulldogs, James Jones. And just finished up your 26th season. Has it kind of gone by in a blink?
I can't believe it's been that long. You know, once you get a job and you start working, you don't think about how long you're going to be in it. At least I didn't. And to have been at Yale for 26 years is really amazing to me as I look back and think about all the years and all the players that have gone through the ranks of being a Yale basketball player. Let's
talk about that Texas A&M game. It's great to get to the tournament. And you know what? Whenever your team plays anyone that is considered to be a powerhouse, you always play great. You win sometimes. Just talk about the effort you had from your guys, and you had to be thrilled with what they gave you.
Yeah, of course I was. You know, this has been nothing but an amazing season for us. You know, got a lot of great players, a lot of good people, and get to the point where you're disappointed to lose an NCAA tournament. That's where our program is right now, and we felt really good about going in the game against Texas A&M. They're a really good team. They're #1 offensive rebounding team in the country, so we knew we were going to have to battle on the glass, and we did for the most part for about 35 minutes, and we came up a little short. And if I literally look back at it, we probably had a B- effort in that game in terms of how we played. The effort was there in terms of energy, but in terms of being able to execute and play well, it was probably one of our worst games of the year. Nothing to take away from Texas A&M. I just thought we could have been better.
Let's talk about the Ivy League season. Incredible run you guys have had over the last 10 years. We talked about it before we started taping, but just talk about the season in general. Bez Mbang, Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. John Poulikitis with a tremendous shooting from three-point range. Nick Townsend stepped up this year. Just how proud you are of your guys.
Yeah, they make me look like I know what I'm doing. You know, those guys are tremendous, and Bez and John have been cornerstones of our program for the last 4 years and really done a great job. And Bez is a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, and to be the Player of the Year at the same time is unbelievable. I don't know if that's happened more than once in the tenure of or the history of Ivy League basketball. So it was great to be with those guys. We had a great run through the Ivy League season. We won our games on an average of 13 points. We were 13-1, and we had one setback against Harvard when we didn't play well and kind of got our chance to refocus after that, and our guys did. And you know, it's really hard, though, if you think about it, to go and be 13-1 and then go win 2 games in the conference tournament, to have that pressure to have to win. And our guys stepped up and did a great job.
James, you usually don't show much emotion, but when you're playing in a game like this is the Ivy League championship against Cornell. You know, they make a run, they come at you, your guys respond. You know, what are you feeling? What emotions are you feeling after wins like this? You know, once in a while we get a nice smile from you like we're getting right now.
Yeah.
Chris Dudley there, a Yale alum, to celebrate with you guys as well. You know, what are you thinking right there at that moment?
Well, right now I'm happy and elated because the game's over. So what happens with me is I don't show a lot of emotion, but inside, my insides are probably going crazy. I think it's really hard to be a coach that's going to be up and excited and yelling and screaming. For me, I think I need to be calm to be able to think about the 1,000 decisions I need to make over the course of a 40-minute game. So I try to be as calm and cool and collected, and I hope that my players are the same way. And I think that, when tough times come on the floor or difficult times come on the floor, when I looked out of the court, our guys were calm and under control. The shot that Bez made against Princeton was brilliant after we got down, and then John came down and made a three that was ridiculous. One of those shots that you can't believe that went in. So them to have the ability to be calm, I hope they look over to the bench and see their coach the same way, and that's helped them and helped fuel them to be able to be mindful through difficult times.
But at the same time, these last couple championships you've won at the Ivy League in the tournament this year and then last year at Columbia, I mean, they're coming down to the final shots of the game. How do you get the guys to keep their poise? And you mentioned about you staying calm, but your inside's got to be in knots at those games.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I can't see them, and that's probably a good thing. But, we practice a lot, 4-minute games, 3-minute games in practice to try to get our guys used to those minutes and that anxiety they may feel, to try to be calm and cool in those situations. And we don't always practice well. Like I tell my guys all the time, I love them every day. I don't like them every day. But we try to practice those times. But the best part about 2 years ago when we were able to beat Brown in the Ivy League championship was the calmness that our guys had, and the fact that it was done with an assist. The fact that, Danny Wolf caught the ball and he ended up giving it to Bez. And if Danny would have shot it, no one would have given pause to that because there were about 4 seconds on the clock. And when Bez got it, no one would give pause to that because he got it without about 2 seconds on the clock, and he gave it up to Matt Noling, and he was able to finish it off. That was nothing short of amazing, and our guys did that on their own. I had no timeouts left, probably a good thing. I had no timeouts to grow up some bad play, but they were able to execute and just give what the defense gave them, and that's what we try to teach our guys. We try to teach them how to play, not just teach them plays.
A little more on your guys. You mentioned Bez Mbag and John Poulikitis. How vital is it to have two guys like that and then two guys stay with you for 4 years and their leadership, what they contributed from freshman year on? Tough to replace those two guys.
Yeah, it's all the difference in the world, but it's always been tough for us to replace other guys. We had to replace Matt Noling. We had to replace Danny Wolf. We had to replace August Mahoney. We had to replace Azar Swain. So there's always somebody great that we have to replace. But with our program is that we have a bunch of guys who are biting and waiting their time to have that opportunity. And I remember talking to John when he was a freshman, telling John that, listen, someday you're going to be our leading scorer. And not only was he our leading scorer, he was the leading scorer in the Ivy League. And he didn't play a lot as a freshman at all. He went to the tournament in 2021 when Azar Swain was our best player, and he was playing behind Azar. So there's not a lot of minutes there because Azar was really good for us. And Danny Wolf didn't play a lot as a freshman because he played behind E.J. Jarvis. So that's what it takes for it to be special with a program. Guys taking their time and guys fighting to try to get better. And the culture of our program is rich. If you go to the gym right now, I guarantee you there's somebody in the gym getting shots up. And that's not something we ask them to do. It's something they do on their own. And it's something that they know they have to be better to get to the point that we were at this past year and the year before that and the year before that, is that we want to maintain this level of consistency. And the only way to do that is to try to be special yourself.
And how hard is that? Because kids these days, I have a couple teenagers, it's all about instant gratification.
Yeah.
So you're teaching patience to these kids who, you see it all the time with the transfer portal, etc. Kids don't play, they're going to leave. But you tell these guys, and they trust you, and they've seen it over the years. So that's a big thing for you.
Yeah, and that's part of the trust is really important. And the fact that they can look at a John Poulikitis and know that John didn't play a lot as a freshman and know that they're not as good as John. And if John could sit and watch, why can't I? When Alex Copeland and Trey Fields and Blake Reynolds were all freshmen, they didn't play a lot when we beat Baylor in the NCAA tournament, but they started their sophomore year, their junior year, and when they were seniors, they brought us back to the NCAA tournament. So just understanding that there have been great players before you that have done it, and it's always worked out for them, there's no reason to believe that it won't work out for you, especially with somebody that you trust in your coach and your coaching staff that's trying to help you see that and help you become the best version of yourself.
All right, James, let's talk a little bit about the field that still remains. 16 on the men's side, 16 on the women's side. The men's field has a heavy flavor of the Southeastern Conference as it gets ready to tip off the second weekend here in March. What do you make of the teams that are left in this tournament?
Well, again, there's a lot of heavy hitters, right? A lot of teams that you would expect to be here, a lot of 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds, which is great for the tournament and the selection. I would much rather see a Yale and some Cinderellas get in there, so to speak. And but that's just the way the ball bounced this year. I heard some guys talking about like the Cinderellas are gone. I just think it's a one-off. You know, we're going to have opportunities down the road to be really good. I get the NIL and what's the change in college basketball, but again, I felt that we were, you know, a couple of bounces away of winning the game, and I think if other few teams were as well. So it all depends on matchups. If you get a good, favorable matchup, which I thought we had against Texas A&M, you will have a chance to win. So there'll be some Cinderellas in the future. But right now, there are a lot of teams that are really good, and you expect to be there. The Floridas of the world, the Auburns of the world, all really good basketball programs. So it should be a fun watch this next weekend and beyond.
You mentioned Cinderella. A national college basketball writer today referred to the Big East as a mid-major conference. Is that what college basketball is becoming?
Well, if you think about it, the monies that are put into the schools in the SEC and the Big Ten and the Big 12 compared to the Big East, you know, you might be able to think of it that way. From top to bottom in those football school leagues, they just have a lot more money to put into the NIL and they're doing it. But it's interesting. I saw on Instagram this morning, they did every single team that is left in the tournament, and they had where those kids started their started their college career. And if you look at Purdue and you look at Michigan State, Purdue had 5 guys, all of which that started at Purdue, and then it's still there. And Michigan State had 4 guys that did it. So it's possible to do that, to keep your guys if you have the right culture and you're the right coach. And at those places, they certainly do. The kids want to stay, and you recruited the right kids, because the process of finding the right kids to help you be successful is really hard. And if you can do that and show them a way that they can be successful with you, that's the best, obviously the best way to do it.
One of the teams still alive in the Sweet 16 in Michigan, and we've been talking about Danny Wolf, who played for you for 1 year. You know, when you look at what Danny's doing now, I know you know he had this in him because we saw it last year when he was a player at Yale. Do you root for Danny at this point and what he's been able to accomplish since leaving, or do you sit there and say, man, I wish he was still with us?
Well, here's the deal. I guess I have emotions that go all over the place with Danny. First and foremost, I love the kid. He's a tremendous young man, great kid, love him. As a matter of fact, after our game, I went up and I sought out his parents, and I hugged his mom and shook his dad's hand, because they were just real special people. The mom actually texts me, Tina Wolf texts me all the time about our team this year, going through it and watching us play. But Danny's a special talent, and I knew that when I recruited him out of high school. And it took him a little while to find his footing as a freshman here, as it does for a lot of freshmen. But as his freshman year was ending, every single game he did something to make me want to put him in more and more and more. And then that next summer he had gone. Then that summer after his freshman year, he played in the national tournament over in Europe, and it was actually in Greece, and he was like MVP of the tournament, I believe. He led the tournament rebound, and his team came in second place. He was tremendous, and then he just took off from there. And if you take a look at his stats at Yale, his sophomore year, and his stats at Michigan his junior year, they're basically about the same. His usage has gone up. He handles the ball a little bit more for them in terms of how they're using him, and that's pretty good with he and Golden running the pick and roll. But the only statistic that's significantly different than what he did at Yale, outside of usage stats, are the fact that his free throw shooting has gone down a little bit. And I think that he just needs to be a little bit more comfortable. But he's a tremendous player. I hope he gets drafted. As a matter of fact, I'd love to go down to Madison Square Garden and sit with he and his family, because they're special people, and he's a special kid. And he wanted this, like when you have a young man that has a desire to get to that level, and that are willing to do anything to get there. Like nobody worked harder than Danny when we did individual workouts. He wasn't so great at practice all the time when we were doing the team stuff, but when you worked him out on his own, he wanted nothing more than to try to get better, and I wish him nothing but the best.
The portal opened on Monday, speaking of transfers. Can you imagine if you're playing this weekend, if you're Tom Izzo, I saw him go off yesterday about a reporter asked him about losing players. You're trying to get your team ready for the Sweet 16, and the portal's open. And one of your current players could put his name in the portal and still be playing for you.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah,
it's a crazy situation, and it's a one-off, or it's a mini-off by the NCAA, right? Like that's a mistake, right? We shouldn't have the portal open until after the season's over. And that only makes sense to me, and I don't know why it was done this way or what the reasoning was. I'm sure there was a reasoning. I don't know why, but it doesn't make sense to me. I know that my man Matt Noling's at USC, and I was texting back and forth with him last night, and he's playing in that tournament in Vegas, the money tournament in Vegas, and he was telling me one of his players has jumped in the portal. So I don't know if he's going to play with them or not, but it's utterly ridiculous the way that worked, and because the most important thing that we're trying to do is build a team and teach lessons through that. And because of all the different rules that we have, we make basketball more of an individual sport as opposed to a team sport. And all the lessons that are learned through teammates and doing something together, they're starting to be lost. And that's my biggest concern about college basketball and the state of it right now.
How long is this going to last before something is done to kind of get this thing on the rails? Because it seems to be completely off the rails right now.
Yeah, I wish I knew. Like, we're in a state of transition. It's not what it was. It's not what it's going to be. And I hope that we get to that point where someone has a strong voice to help center this and get us back to where we should be, or a place that's reasonable. Like, you know, the pendulum swung from one side where the players were not getting anything to like we give them everything. And kids are getting overpaid and to do things, and nothing against the players, because again, if somebody wanted to offer me more money than I'm worth, I think I'd probably take it. I was, no, you keep. You know,
100%.
No, you're probably going to take what it is, but at the same time, we're losing what the game should mean. And I think that's the biggest problem. We got to get back to understanding what college athletics are all about. And the bigger point to it is that my son plays a non-revenue generating sport. And you can see where that's starting to dwindle, the amount of attention that are paid to those sports, and they are going to go away. Now, what used to happen in college athletics is basketball and football help generate money for everybody else. So you could have a national championship in field hockey. So you could have a national championship in swimming. So those athletes can experience some of the same things that basketball players and football players experience. Now, the reason why they don't why they have to be paid by basketball and football is because they generate all the money. All the money basically for the NCAA comes from the NCAA tournament, and that pays for everything. Most of the football money goes to the school because they have individual contracts. So it'd be nice if we could understand that, yes, there's a lot of money made in college athletics, but a lot of that money goes through the other athletes that you have. What you're going to find now are other teams are going to be cut. Like, for instance, UConn cut their men's tennis program. We're going to have to start cutting back because you have to feed the animal, or feed the beast, feed the football, and feed the basketball at the risk of losing all the other things. Because it's great to have a fall sport where we can go out and watch our lacrosse team play, or watch our baseball team play. A spring sport, watch our soccer team. Our lacrosse and baseball play in the fall. Watch our soccers and our field hockeys and our football. And it's nice to be able to do that. And what it does is galvanize campuses, and you're losing sight of that.
How do you, your staff, and you at Yale, compete, with someone trying to come in and grab one of your guys, or these mid-majors coming in and getting money thrown at them? Like, how do you maintain what you've built there, over the years? Well,
we're in a unique environment. Like, I've been at Yale for 26 years. I've had one player transfer, and that's Danny Wolf. And part of it is that our culture is so rich and we're successful. It's great to want to be a part of that. The other part of it, it's Yale. So where do you go academically if you leave Yale? When you make a decision to come to Yale, you've already made a decision that financially we're going to invest in our son's future. So that being said, well, they believe in who you are. So if they believe in who you are before they get there, and then they get there and they find out you actually are who they thought you were, well, then there's no reason to go anywhere. Like, for us, like, if you're going to take money and go, you become short-sighted, like, because the money's going to go away. But what doesn't go away are the memories that you have where you are. I got a text message from a mother. One of my players was a grad transfer, had no more eligibility at Yale. And she was telling me how much she realized how special it was for her son to play for us in our culture. Because what they experienced somewhere else was nowhere near close to it. And those memories are all that you really have when you're done with this whole thing. The money's fleeting. It's going to go at some point, right? Unless you invest very wisely, which you might, but most kids don't. But what you have are your memories of what you do and the people that you come in contact with. Like, on my wall in my office, I have a photo of every single player that's paid for me over the course of my 26 years. I know where every single one of them are in the world. I know what they're all doing, and I communicate with each one of them at least once a year somehow. Some of them a lot more than that, but there's a text message, there's an email, see them in person, they're on campus. Some point, because they're part of my family. And my favorite time of year is the holidays when I get holiday cards from my players, and they're pictures of their families that grow. So I'm a grandfather, I can't tell you how many times, and I'm a dad, I can't tell you how many times, because all the kids that played for me. And that's a special way to live. And they're all connected through me. And so what's great about me being at Yale for 26 years, every single class that I've had, they're all connected because they all share me and my staff, which is great.
And it's not about the next 4 years. It's about the next 40. That's an expression I've heard a lot of.
Yeah, and Tom Beckett coined that to me. I don't know if he was the first one to ever come up with it, but that's the first place I heard it. And that's really special. And I've used that in every single recruiting visit that I've actually had. It's been wonderful.
We just saw some video of your assistant coaches. John and I were talking about that. You know, covering the team as much as we do, it's a familiarity with not only the players who stay all 4 years, but how have you been able to keep this coaching staff together, and what an advantage it is for you? They know what you like, you know what they like, whether it's recruiting or talking to kids. How much advantage is that for you?
Well, it's the reason why we're good, right? It's my staff. Matt Kingsley is associate head coach. Justin Simons is associate head coach. He played for me. Brandon Sherrod is also played for me. So we all have a familiarity with each other. And like, I'll ask Matt or Justin to do something, and I say ask because I don't tell, I ask. And more often than not, Coach, I already did that. I've already done it. Hey, can you watch video with the guards? I think they need to work on, you know, guarding against a back cut. Coach, I already done that. I got the film here. I'm going to meet with them at 3:30 today. So it's amazing because we know each other so well, but they make my job easy because all the things I used to worry about, I don't have to worry about it anymore because I got 2 associate head coaches and 1 assistant coach who played for me, who know exactly what I want and knows exactly what Yale basketball is. They make my life easy.
So what are you guys doing right now? Are you working ahead already? Is the schedule coming out? Who should we look for on your schedule, you know, that you can talk about right now?
Well, we're going to go down to the Virgin Islands and play in a tournament down there. And I'm trying to get a high major game. Like we played Purdue last year because Matt Painter and I are friends. And after Danny Wolf went into the portal, the day when he went into the portal, Minnesota called us and we got a chance to play them. So right now, every single body that I've called, they've used colorful metaphors to tell me why they're not playing. So we don't have any high major games yet. We have a lot of the usual suspects in Vermont and URI that we played last year, Stony Brook, Howard, but we need to get some milk and cookies on the schedule. We'll see if we can do that.
Are teams kind of afraid to play you now, or what? Because I mean, from our side, it definitely feels that way for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, with scheduling, they want to play somebody that, you know, again, scheduling and recruiting are the 2 hardest things you do. And no one wants to schedule somebody they think they're going to lose to. If I could play X and I have a better chance of beating X, why would I play Y? So we're Y, and no one wants to play us.
Yeah, but you seem to take it the other way. You want to play the tough games early in the year because that gets you ready for what just happened.
Yeah, and you're singing to the choir.
Yeah.
And it helps us tremendously. So we're trying to find those games because I think that I want to find the warts on our team. I want to find out what we need to work on, and playing the better teams helps you do that.
And listen, folks out there who don't know, he plays anybody, anywhere, and you've probably given up 100 wins over the course of your career because you easily could have scheduled 4 or 5 cupcakes on your schedule.
Yeah.
But you don't. You play the tough teams. And
Yeah.
It's battle tested over there.
I'm not the smartest guy in the world, I guess. I'm not thinking about James Jones. I'm thinking more about Yale and the experience of my players, going to Kansas and playing that, going to Duke and playing there, going to Kentucky and playing there. Those experiences my guys will never forget. Like, I remember we're playing against Kentucky and Toshibe, who was a leading rebounder in the country when he was a junior or a sophomore. But every year we were playing them the next year. And I'm yelling at E.J. Jarvis to block him out. And I'm like just really getting into him to block him out. And he goes, Coach, that dude is strong. You know, so him going up against guys like that is just something he'll never forget, and he'll have a memory for the rest of his life.
James, you've had so much success, you know, yourself over at Yale, and you're in a state where there's a lot of basketball success, and Gino Auriemma is right at the top of that list. 40 years at UConn, 11 national championships, all he's done. From a coach, looking at what he's accomplished, the program he's built, and the effect he's had, what do you think?
Well, I think what he's done has been nothing short of amazing, and it's something that, you know, I don't know can be duplicated on the male side of this. I just don't know if you can be that dominant as he is. Like, all he does is go out every single game and beat the snot out of all of his opponents. Like, you watch some of the scores, and they beat people by 50, they beat people by 60. And so this year right now, they're going to the Sweet 16. I don't know where he puts this team in the level of teams he's had in the past, but he's had some teams that just run through the entire country. So he's done an absolutely amazing job, and hats off to him and the Lady Huskies, because they're nothing short of amazing, and I wish them nothing but the best in the tournament.
Yeah, they're as healthy as they have been since 2016, the last time they won a national championship.
That's a big part of why they haven't been as good, the injuries.
Do you fill out a bracket this time of year? And do you become a fan at this point now?
No, I don't fill out a bracket anymore because we're in it. Right? There was a time where every year that we didn't make it, I would take our guys my staff over to Archie Moore's, and we would watch the games on the TVs. And thank God I don't have to do that anymore because we're actually in the tournament. So I'm going to tell you right now, because we're playing Michigan, I knew who the second round game was. I wouldn't have been able to tell you who the second round game is because I don't ever take a look at the bracket. I'm so focused on that one team. The second team doesn't matter. I'll digest them that next day and that night and that next day before we would play them.
It's so funny you mentioned that because I'm sorry. Coach Hurley during the season at one point, it was like a February game, and after the game and the post game after a win, he goes, "Who we playing Thursday?" And I was like, "Come on, is he putting me on?" But sometimes you guys are so ultra focused on the task ahead, you're not looking 2 games.
It's just hard to, and I'm a day-to-day person.
Yeah.
Like I'm a minute person. I'm where I am, and I'm totally present where I am. And for me, it doesn't make sense to be thinking about or worrying about something that you can't control. I have a saying that I don't anticipate my pain. So I don't ever think about stuff that I can't control or stuff that I don't need to worry about.
Last thing, one-word answer. Who wins the whole thing?
On the men's side?
Yeah.
That's a great question. I'm thinking Florida wins it, but Auburn is right there as well.
Well, you want to pick a women's winner too?
Well, you got to go with UConn because I'm in the state.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a solid pick.
Yeah.
James, can't thank you enough for joining us and sharing all the information. It's really a pleasure always seeing you here at games, whenever.
Yeah, it's the best, and we're really spoiled. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are nothing short of terrific. Pleasure to come on with you.
Thanks, James. That's James Jones, head basketball coach at Yale University. That's going to do it for this edition of The Bracket. For Erik Dobratz, James Jones, I'm John Pierson. Thanks for watching, everyone.